There I am. Hi, everyone. We still have lots of people joining because it's not quite 8 yet. So I just wanted to go ahead and pop on and turn my microphone and camera on just so we could get started in case you guys are having any difficulties hearing me or seeing me. And just so I could kind of welcome everybody as they come in. Let's see. So I'm not sure, I'll kind of keep talking as people are popping on, but depending on if you're on your phone or on a computer or a different kind of device, somewhere you should be able to see a chat box. So what I'm going to do is I'll explain kind of the structure of how we're going to move through today's training, but utilize that chat box to leave any questions that you have about any topic related to microblading or training or anything that we're talking about. But more importantly, when we get started, if you could leave me any messages through the chat if you're having a hard time seeing or hearing me, that would be helpful. And then, like I said, I'm just going to kind of hang out for a couple minutes, just in case anyone is having any trouble logging in. If you don't mind, someone who is available and near their keyboard on their phone or computer, would you mind sending me a message to the chat and just let me know that you can hear me and see me, I guess? Oh, hi, there you are. Hi, Crystal. Hi, Jackie. Hi, Allie. Allie, I don't ever wear red lip gloss, so this is a new color. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Okay, good. So everyone can hear me and see me okay. Perfect. Let's see. I'm going to give everyone like 1 more minute and we'll do some housekeeping. Hey, Jackie from Dayton. Jackie is like the most common name for my students because I think I have like 5 microblading students with the name Jackie. Hey, everybody. Hi, Christina. Hey, Angela. Hi, Lauren. Thanks, Jackie. I get really, my mouth gets really dry when I'm talking, so the lip gloss will be gone. Hi, Cindy. Is that Sue Ellen? Hey, Sue Ellen. Okay, so it's about 8:02. Depending on who you are, this is late, so I don't want to keep everybody too long. I plan on talking and leading you guys through some information and some training for about a half an hour. And hey, Amanda. And after that, we'll do some Q&A. And I have some questions that you guys sent me already about microblading training and also about the new programs that we're rolling out. But if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box. And I will do my best to answer them all. So depending on how many come through and how much time we have, I'll hang out as long as necessary. But if there's so many that I just can't answer tonight, I will absolutely find some way to answer them for you, whether it's emailing you or making a little video after we're offline, and I'll send it to everyone. So it's about 8:03. I'm going to kind of just jump in and get started. If at any point you guys, hey, Sandra, hi, Mary. If at any point you guys lose me, let me know. I'll kind of monitor the chat box. So the way I'm going to kind of structure things is I'm going to start off by just kind of telling you what to expect, and then I'll tell you a little bit about me and why I am launching these new programs. And then we will start talking about our training topic today. And following that, there'll be an opportunity for us to participate in Q&A so we can talk about different things relating to what we're talking about today. And then we'll close things at that point, and you guys will have access to kind of these new programs and the online manual, which I know a lot of you are here to hear more about. Hi, Rhonda. So just a reminder, if you're jumping in now, there is a chat box there. Feel free to jump in and say hi. If you have a question about anything, go ahead and leave it there. I believe there's also an option for you to select to just send a question to an admin, which would be me. So if it's something that you want to ask, but maybe you don't want to ask to everyone, that's fine. But at the end of the session, I'll answer all those questions, okay? Okay, so I'm going to just kind of jump in and get started on today's topic. Like I said, about 30 minutes and then maybe like 10 minutes or less of Q&A at the end. Feel free to just set me down somewhere and listen to me if you want. When we actually get started on the topic, there'll be a slide deck, so feel free to take notes. I will also send a slide deck to everyone that wants it afterwards in case you want to keep it. So let's see. I'm going to kind of just jump in and tell you guys a little bit about me. I don't want to assume that everyone knows who I am. I know a lot of you that have chimed in already. And I won't give you the boring speech about who I am. I just kind of want to clarify a few things to set the record straight for how this training is going to go, and then just, you know, who I am, I guess, as a teacher and as a person. It's actually pretty funny to me when I meet people, or people come to our training classes, or people who are interested in being entrepreneurs, but kind of like don't know where to start. They're kind of new in this whole business. I get like a lot of comments that are like, oh my God, how do you do it all? Like, you must be superwoman, or how do you sleep? You just must. I think that people assume that what I'm doing makes me somehow super exceptional. So I just want to start off today by explaining that that is absolutely not the case. I am just like every other like 30-something-year-old mom. I'm super busy, and I'm boring. And I say all of this just so that you know you can do what I'm doing too, and I can help you. It's funny because my house is never this clean. I actually only clean the foyer in that room because that's all you can see. I also don't have real pants on, just so we're clear. I have pants on, but they're sweatpants. So I did get a shirt on for you guys. But I say all that to say this is going to be really informal and hopefully helpful to you guys. And yeah, we're just going to kind of jump in. So to frame who I am, the brief story is I basically started off in microblading about 3 years ago or so. And at that time, it was still super new. And I had a corporate job that I hated, that I didn't realize I hated until like 8 years in. And I remember just getting ready to take that first class, and it was only a couple $1,000s. But at that time, my husband and I were still living paycheck to paycheck. Like, we had decent, good jobs, but we still lived paycheck to paycheck with 3 kids. So I just remember feeling like extremely distraught and like stressed over spending this money and wondering if it was going to be worth it. And thankfully, I had my husband to kind of push me forward in that message. But I mean, I tried to quit before I ever started. I remember crying on the way to the training because I was afraid that it was a mistake. So I think a lot of people, maybe some of you felt like that, or you're getting ready to maybe think about training, and you are in the same boat. So just know that that's normal. But since then, I started off by myself. I actually started off in my basement, and that is not legal, by the way. I did my friends and family in my basement. And then I moved into like this tiny little room, and I was there for a few months. Some of you guys on here might have seen me in there. And then we opened up a storefront about 2 years ago, like our own place, and grew and started adding artists. So along the way, I've taken a lot of training classes in addition to teaching them. And one thing I've learned about this industry, which is pretty sad, is that unfortunately there aren't a lot of people that want to share what they know. So even though you spend a couple of $1,000s on trainings, people don't want to actually tell you what it takes to be successful. I have some theories on that. I think some of it has to do with them not wanting you to surpass them. And then also maybe people thinking in this industry that you have to put the work in and kind of be miserable for like 5 years or 10 years before you can be successful. And I just think that's crazy. So I started teaching classes to help people get around that. And one of the things we focused on and we found was that a lot of people obviously wanted the microblading training, but they needed help with actually starting a business. I found that a lot of women get into this because they just want to be their own boss, and they actually want financial and time freedom and time to spend with their kids. They just want to be happy. And so when we started talking about the business part of training in our classes, that was the most popular part. I mean, we have to cut people off because we have to get to the actual microblading part. And that's sad to me. So next for us came this development of creating a class that will help you run a successful business, or at least some information. And then our online manual to microblading success is where that was kind of born out of that. So that's maybe one of the main reasons you guys are here. If you guys pre-subscribed to get a copy of that, by the end of our session today, I'll give you all the information on how you can get your copy. But then I realized, wow, I could really help more people if we developed more of like a coaching program. So I'll tell you guys a couple stories about when I first started, and then I promise we are going to jump into the training. But how many of you have experienced, if you're an experienced artist, like an appointment where someone made you cry? Maybe not in front of them, but you went home and cried. or you were so stressed out about performing or how hard it was, and you didn't really have someone to turn to help you. It's a very isolating feeling, and there are not a lot of people who do it, let alone people who want to help you. So I remember a couple of examples that I always tell in training classes. The first crazy example was the first like 2 weeks that I started this training, or I started microblading. I developed this common nightmare. And so like I would microblade, and for those of you who are new, there's a point in the microblading session where you like cover someone's eyebrows with pigment, and it's cool. Like you did a good job, you wipe it off, it looks super pretty. Well, in my nightmare, I would wipe it off and there would just be like scratch, scratch, like scribble, scribble all throughout the eyebrows, which sounds funny, and it is funny now, but at the time it was so stressful. I would wake up like sweating, and then I would cry every time. And then my husband got to the point, it happened so much that my husband was like, Amber, it's just a dream, go back to sleep. Like he wasn't even alarmed by the fact that I sat up straight in my bed. And it's funny now, but at the time, that's the kind of feelings that I had. So I'm sure some of you have kind of experienced that if you're a microblading artist. I just wish at that time that I had someone that I could have like called or text and said, hey, like, this is what's going on, I want to quit. And that person would have been like, no, it's totally normal. Like, let me help you through it. So I would like to be that person for you. So herein lies where we are. I want to tell you guys a little bit about the 3 programs that we're going to hear about, and then I'm going to jump into the free training. If you like what you're hearing today, or you want to participate on more hands-on, like personal basis, Jackie says she dreams of eyebrows too. I know, Jackie, it's tough. But if you want more of a personal relationship and someone that's going to kind of hold your hand along in this journey, there are some programs that you would be really interested in, and I'll share it. But essentially, you guys now know who I am and why I started the training. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the programs are, just so you have some framework behind it. But essentially, you guys know about the online guide. If you don't know a little bit about it, I grew frustrated with the lack of free information out there for people where someone was just like freely sharing. So we created a guide that's it's over 100. I think it's 125 pages of everything about microblading, from what it is to technique and how to get good results, like proper stretch, depth, all of that good stuff, how to get good retention results, why you're not getting good results, and then what to do about it. And really, for me, the guide represents information that's good for every microblading artist, but especially for people who feel like maybe there's a section or something that was left out of their training, or they're just like, there are gaps missing. So I'm hoping that for you, the guide will kind of put those pieces of the puzzle together for you. And so that's going to be in an online format. And because all of you are in this new, in our webinar early, and your early birds, and super supportive already, you're going to get a special price on that. And then there are 2 other options that I would highly encourage you to think about, especially if the stories that I mentioned about my nightmare register with you, or if you're like me and you tried to quit 100 times, probably 100 times in the first year. You kind of need that person to be right by your side to keep you going. So the other 2 options are coaching options, which come with phone calls with me. So they're not, it's coaching and guiding, like customized to you and where you are. So it's going to look a little bit different for everyone, but it basically involves a series of phone calls where I learn about your business and where you need help. And I make recommendations to you. And then I also help you put all of those things in place so that you can do it without kind of guessing. Basically, I'm hoping that I will cut out the guessing and all of the stress behind it. So those are your options. There are 2. One is more of a 4-week option. One is an 8-week option, and then all of them can be renewed. And then lastly, everyone that's here and participating in the program early on, we are going to have an online forum for you guys in early 2019, which is going to be a place where you can come and log in and get advice and be comfortable sharing. How many of you are in a permanent makeup group like on Facebook? Our Brow MV trainees, I know a lot of you are here, people who took our class, we have our own Facebook group, but there are probably a dozen Facebook groups on permanent makeup, and there's like 20, 30,000 people in them. And the same thing happens every time. Someone posts a comment looking for genuine help, like, hey, I don't know, Lori's in one, I don't know how to numb. My clients aren't numb. Like, why? And the first thing that people say, unfortunately, there's a bunch of people who jump on the post and they say, you should already know this. Didn't you go to training? You need to practice more. The worst is when you post a picture of your work, it's a support group. You're supposed to be able to post a picture of your work. And then people jump on you about how terrible you are and how come you don't know how to do this? I mean, it's the opposite of a support group. So what's coming for you guys in 2019 is a place for you to be safe and actually grow. In the meantime, and probably if you're a little more serious about getting started, that's what our coaching programs are for, so you can work with me. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to go ahead and jump into our training. So what's going to happen next is I'm going to pull up a slide deck. So you should see the slide deck in your full view, and then there'll probably be a little picture of me down here in the corner. So you don't have to stare at me this whole time. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. Don't forget, guys, if you have questions about anything I just told you as far as coaching and the future training that's coming and all of that good stuff, ask them. Just put them in the chat box. Even if people comment after you, I will scroll back so that I can answer them at the end. One thing I know about trainings is that people are super shy when it comes to asking questions and speaking out in front of the class. So don't be shy. I will help you. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about, I was trying to think of a topic that we could talk about that would be the most helpful to you and your business and that you could work on right away. And also what's probably the most important, they kind of fell in line, and that was customer service and basically how to get clients. So today we're going to talk about the 3 most important aspects of your business. So let's jump right in. As we're working through the slides, again, if you guys cannot see anything, let me know. Okay, so I remember I told you guys there's a whole boring section about me that we won't jump into, but if you care to read this later, you can. Again, this is just kind of summarizing how I left my corporate job and how frustrated I've gotten with this industry and the lack of sharing and help out there for artists. So what I have found is that I hear the same things from everyone. We all kind of go to these classes, and sometimes they're amazing classes. I mean, I even think that our class is great, but it's not possible to cover everything in 2 or 3 or 5 or 7 days. And those of you who have been working for a while know in 6 months, there's still stuff that you don't know. So there's just no training class on the market that can help you with that, except what's more disturbing is that a lot of these classes don't even touch on business success. And again, I think they're missing the mark because they don't know what we really want. Most of us want something that we can do that's exciting and passionate, but we also want to be free. Like, we want to be our own bosses, or even if I know a lot of artists who work within another facility, but they just want the freedom to create a life that they want. And none of these classes touch on that. So that's where the whole idea for our classes came about. Again, most people feel that there's a need for more, and just like a wish that you would have an ongoing training at a pace that you're comfortable with, instead of trying to fit, with the best of intentions, fit everything into this 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 5 day training, and you just leave and that's it. Like, there's no accountability. You don't have any direction. You know, if you're lucky, you got some forms that maybe you can work with, but like, okay, how do I create a website? Do I need a website? What do I put on the website? Why aren't clients booking with me? So we're going to touch on that in our webinar today. The guide will cover all of this in a lot more detail, again, from technique to business, but also, obviously, if you're really interested in growing quicker and kind of getting in more in depth as it pertains to you, the coaching would be a good option for you guys. Okay, so I asked a lot of you, and like I said, as I expected, everyone was like, I want more clients. Let's talk about getting more clients, which is seemingly like obvious and extremely hard to do. So I kind of want to help you guys with that today. This slide is just kind of referring to why it's important to get a lot of clients early on in your business. It's always important to have them, but I have found that people get off to a slow start, and it is extremely damaging, if not fatal, to their business. And these are some reasons why. You can't invest in your business if you don't have any money. That's kind of common sense. You've already spent all this money on training, and maybe you've had a lot of money in startup costs. It's just not cheap to offer. And I'm just going to check in and make sure you guys are still able to hear me. Good. Okay. Let's see. So you've invested all of this money and it's an ongoing expensive service to provide. And you just really need clients so that you can keep going, let alone pay yourself back, right? So that's a huge problem. You can't get photos, videos, or any evidence that you know what you're doing because you don't have any clients. So how are you supposed to get new customers if you don't have any already to help you with that? And then lastly, I think this is the worst, and it's the one that I think people don't think about at all. You cannot get more experienced by working on clients because you don't have them. And what happens is it delays the time that it takes to become an expert at this. It's already extremely hard. It's hard for me, and after doing thousands of sessions. So I can remember the first 50 people, I felt sick to my stomach, like I was going to throw up. And I would like sweat, like that's how bad it was. And then the first 100 people, I stopped feeling like that, but I was still unsure. I was still running into scenarios that I hadn't seen before. It's to the point now where I don't have that anymore, but I have found from talking to artists, it's like a year if you're busy before you stop seeing things that you haven't seen before. So imagine, and some of you are in this position, how are you supposed to learn if you've only done 10 people? You know, how can you get better? So those are our problems. I know some of you are like, yeah, I know. So get to the point. Okay, so it's very important to get clients early in your business, as we discussed. The main reason, in a nutshell, is that I found way too many artists quit before they ever get started. They never reach their potential. And it's not always a short window of time. A lot of times it's the first few months. I've talked to a lot of artists who quit like before they even do their first person. They have worked themselves up into such a tizzy because they're so confused and their training was bad and they just don't know where to begin, that they're like, forget it. Like, I didn't invest that much. I'll just do something else, which is so sad and not necessary. But a lot of people will slowly grind for like a year and just fade away. And that, again, is sad, but it's largely because they didn't have enough clients. So there are several problems here. We kind of talked about them on the last slide. I'm just going to go into more detail here. But again, you leave the industry a little bit soon if you are spending all this money on costs to maintain and not growing. Problem number 2, you don't have any photos. This is important, and I think a lot of people don't realize it, or they're kind of uncomfortable with this part. But I've talked to so many, like hundreds of clients. I still ask them to this day, like, what makes you pick an artist? Why'd you come here? Or why did you avoid another place? And the number one thing is they look for pictures. They want evidence that you know what you're doing. This is terrifying to them. And even to the most confident, when I get my brows done, I'm afraid every time. Jillian did my touch-up Jillian's one of our artists. She did my touch-up a couple months ago, and I freaked out for like 3 days. So, I mean, it's scary. And when you don't have any photos to demonstrate that you know what you're doing, it's almost impossible to get clients because they don't believe you, and rightfully so. So again, if you can't get clients in the door, you can't get valuable content, you can't share it, you don't have any clients, you don't have a business. Again, leads to people leaving the business or the industry early. And then the last problem, which again we talked about earlier, is the biggest problem. You can't get better because you're not touching skin. And what I have found happens is this leads to that lack of confidence and significant frustration. Those are the people who like reach out to me like crying because they're like, I don't get it. I'm trying so hard. I just can't get back. I've only done 5 people. I can't find anyone to work on. I can't afford to keep giving it away for free. What do I do? So I'm going to help you with that. Now I'm going to sip my water. You know what would have been really fun if we all agreed to have wine. We could have drunk it together. Okay, so now you know the biggest problems, or the biggest problem, which is getting clients, and you know how significantly they negatively impact your business. So we need to talk about how to fix them. And my opinion is that the key lies in running a customer-focused business. What I mean by customer-focused is a business that is constantly thinking about how to make it better and easier for the customer, not yourself. So that means sometimes you make decisions that don't make sense to you or that benefit someone else and not you. And that's super important. If we think about like the corporate world and we look at like Blockbuster and Netflix, there's a million examples of big companies, even not even small businesses, where they just didn't listen. And they didn't adjust. So I'm going to show you and teach you some ways that you can do that right away. So the first, I kind of have like a 3-step process to analyze this, and I think it helps for you to put these in silos. So if you have pen and paper right now, it'd be a great time to kind of write this down and kind of separate them if you're a visual person, to start thinking right now about what this means to you and how it applies to you. But understanding your clients is it's the number one thing you need to do. And it was extremely hard for me because when I started my business, I decided to build the business around what I would want. So it worked out okay for the clients that were like me, but not everyone is like me. So I made a website that had lots of words on it with scientific breakdowns of how this worked in layers of skin, which clients don't care about. I thought they cared because I cared. And I put ridiculous amounts of pages. You had to click through hundreds of pages to get information because that made sense to me. And that hurt my business early on. It took me time to really start asking customers and other people who didn't know what microblading was. Hey, how would you like to hear about this? What are your questions? What are your concerns? So I'm going to teach you how you can understand more what your customer wants and how you can guide them, and that will help you grow your business right away. Number 2, you have to overcome objections and barriers. So you've understood them, you've made some time, and you've put some things in place to try to understand what they want. But it's really important that you understand why they're not booking. So you understand their thought process maybe a little bit better from your analysis, but now it's time to answer those questions so that you can position your business to deliver more value for your services. So I'm going to help you overcome those barriers, but this is problem number 2. Solution number 2. Your third action item is to deliver on the experience piece. And this seems really obvious, but I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how I do it to ensure a good experience. For me, I didn't pay for advertising. We still don't really pay for advertising, but I didn't even begin to think about, I think we've done a few Google ads. I didn't even do that for a year and a half. So the entire foundation of our business was built on social media, but most importantly, word of mouth. And there's a lot of statistics out there. There's a lot of research about how women, I think this is true for customers in general, we'll get to this later. People want to hear about new things or ways to spend money from people that they know. And I think for women, that's especially true. So when I ask them why they came to me, the first reason is photos. The second reason is my friend or my best friend or my girlfriend or my cousin, my hairdresser who's never been here before, they told me about you, and that's why I came. So I'm going to teach you how to turn the few customers that you might have or that you've had already into your marketing team. I have several clients. I have one, her name's Amanda, and I can't even count the number of people she's referred to me. It's because she's super influential, she's honest, and if she likes something, it's good, and people trust her. So I don't even have to sell myself. I just treated her really well, and then she did the selling for me. So I'm going to talk to you guys about how to do that. So our first job is to understand our client. We kind of talked a little bit about this, but we often make assumptions about what people want or don't want, or even worse, we don't even think about it. And I think this is very true. We take this class, we're going to perform the service. I think the biggest assumption that we have is that you have to be super talented and that the client is looking at your pictures and analyzing your entire stroke pattern. They know exactly your depth was incorrect. Oh, this color choice was wrong. We assume that all of that needs to be perfect to the point where I've seen it stop artists from posting on social media at all, which is obviously going to stop you from getting clients. They stop sharing their work because they are so worried and they're having nightmares like I had. And the truth is, if you really study things and you talk to people, they don't see that. They didn't take a training class like you. They're not in this webinar. So they don't know what outstanding work is. I found that most customers cannot separate average work from excellent work. And really the only thing they can tell, not even comparing bad to excellent work, they just can tell really, 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 really bad. That's about it. That is not their concern. So I really wanted to lead with that because I think it's important that new artists understand that. I can't tell you how many times I talk to someone they're stalled in their business because they think that they need to be perfect on day one, and it's not true. To the point where I've noticed that people will I've had customers call and be like, listen, your price is double this girl, and I looked at your work and I looked at her work, and it's the same. I can't tell a difference. Why should I pay more? which I'm going to tell you how to prove value to her. But it's funny that she doesn't see the difference. She just sees eyebrows. So let's talk about some things that you need to consider. This is a great spot to write some notes down too. And maybe you're thinking in the back of your mind how this has happened to you, or kind of some examples. But the first thing you want to ask is, what is their motivation for wanting the service that you provide? If you go ahead and answer, I mean, some of you, I would say go ahead and write down what your initial answer to that question would be. It might not be what I have found to be true from asking them. My thought process was, well, they want the service because they want pretty eyebrows. They want their face to be balanced. You know, they want their eyes to be brighter. But that's not true at all. A lot of people don't even know what microblading can do for them, or what nice brows can do for them. Their motivation for wanting it is usually, at least on the surface in their mind, functional. So they want to save time getting ready. They want to work out without their brows coming off. They want to go swimming without being embarrassed. That's kind of their surface level of understanding. I'll get to what I think they really want on the deep down inside in a minute. But the next thing you want to think about is, what are their needs? What do you need to provide? How can you meet needs if you don't know what they are? That's what I was doing early in my career that I think stalled a little bit for me, was just assuming what they wanted and not asking, and then providing a service that wasn't for them, which is an easy way to fail. So they need to like you. That's number one. They need to trust you. One of the things that I will help you with in the coaching program is how to do that. There's no way for us we wouldn't have enough time. We could spend an hour on this subject alone. But for example, one of them is they need to know who you are. I have a lot of artists I talk to who have a website and there's no photo of them whatsoever. So right now, if you're watching and you're an artist and you have social media or a website and no photo or any information about you, you are losing clients right now, because they need to hear your voice. They need to think about what's happening. By the time they book a consult or come for their first appointment, they've committed in some way to you tattooing their face. And a lot of them don't have any tattoos. So if they don't even know what you look like, or the space where you work looks like, you're losing clients before you ever get started. They need to trust you. And that again comes back to sharing photos of yourself and being transparent. And so again, if you know all of these things, then you can move differently. You can the posts that you share on social media start to be a little bit different when you think like this. Then I want you to ask yourself, what do they actually want? Remember the first bullet point, I said that they think that they want to save time getting ready, or that they just don't want their eyebrows to fall off, which is true, but truly, where you can win clients is explaining the real value. They might not even know this, but what woman in the world doesn't want to look younger? Or what woman doesn't want to feel more confident? What woman, how many times have they been told that they look sick and it didn't on the surface bother them, but deep down inside, it made them feel bad? And I can tell you so many stories of crazy things that I've heard from women. I have a client whose husband had not seen her without brow makeup in 32 years. Well, he had never seen her, and they've been married for 32 years. Every morning she woke up and went to the bathroom and put her eyebrows on, which made me cry, because they have the happiest marriage, and it wasn't for him. It was because she didn't feel good about it. So afterwards, she'll tell you that it changed her life. And yes, they are just eyebrows, but for her, she was able to be her own, true self with her husband every day. And when you explain that to people, if that's her motivation, if I explain that you will no longer have to hide from your husband, she'll pay anything for that, because it is invaluable. So when you start talking to people in that way and stop telling them it's $500 because it takes me 2 hours to do, you will get a lot more customers. So step one, understanding your client. Step two, you're going to overcome objections and barriers. So this is the one you're all familiar with. You have been on a call before and the client's asking you a gazillion questions, and all they care about is how much it costs, and that their girlfriend told them that their hairdresser's cousin is doing it for $50, and your price is way too high. Click, and they hang up. The issue is that there are huge barriers that you have to be aware of so you can speak to them. And it isn't just price. So I can't tell you how many times two things happen. My artists or people that I'm trying to help will tell me that their price is too high, that customers don't want to pay the price, or that their competitors are too cheap and it's driving their value down. That is crazy talk. That is not true at all. It might make us feel better to think that that's true, that maybe it's someone else's fault. That is super common in the industry, by the way, that there's this oversaturation and a constant like driving down of the value. And that, again, it's not true. It's like hair or nails. Everyone has a face. And a lot of women, so many women need help with their eyebrows, but they haven't been spoken to the way they need to be spoken to. And we are so focused on like, I will put eyebrows on your face for $500. That's the exchange. And that's not true at all. We need to position what the value is for them and their specific concerns. So I've listed off here what some common ones are that I've observed and what helps me. But what I would recommend that you do is on your notepad, start journaling maybe some answers to what we're going over, some thoughts that you have. Again, this is something that we can go over in situations that are more specific to you in a coaching program. For example, if you have all middle-aged clients, their concerns are different than if you're marketing to college students. So, but generally speaking, they want to know what it's going to look like. They want to know if it's going to hurt. Are other people going to know I did this? Is the aftercare so terrible? And are brows really that important? Like, I don't have extra money. Why do I need to do this? So to speak to that, for example, what is it going to look like? You need to meet that objection with an answer. It's going to look great. I'm going to show you the entire process before we get started, and you will feel super comfortable. And I'm going to include you in the design process. I say that at the beginning of every appointment, so we just knock that out. Like, I'm eliminating objections left and right when they come in. I'm like, throw all of your curveballs at me so I can answer them, and then we move on. And that goes back to delivering a great customer service that we're going to talk about. You're kind of anticipating what their needs are. And another example, will it hurt? You kind of explain how they're going to manage it. Maybe you'll say that you numb, whatever your answer is, but you're going to go ahead and hit them with an answer right away. Some of this happens before an appointment. So one of the things that I advise my students on, or when I'm coaching someone, is to have an information packet. So it's a lot of detailed information that you hand to them before they ever show up. So a lot of objections are answered, before they're booking, when they're making their decision. Again, I have at the bottom a very important tip that I want you to take note of. Don't forget that these are the objections. When you're answering them, tailor the answer to what their concerns are, because not everyone's answer is going to be different. Okay. Lastly, the third tier of our actionable items, deliver on experience. So I have some numbers here that you can take a look at, but there's a lot of data out there on customer experience and how it impacts business success and getting more clients. 83% of customers are willing to refer after a positive experience. 77% of customers are willing to buy something when they learn about it from a friend or a family. So think about the last time you tried something new, or you bought something that you maybe normally wouldn't have, but someone insisted that you had to try it. You want to create those customers so they can walk around town and tell everyone about how amazing their experience with you was. So you're giving them the beautiful eyebrows that they asked for, but you're meeting their needs deep down inside, and they appreciate that, and they will refer people for you. So again, here I'm just talking about why outstanding service matters. There are several things that you can do to kind of create great referrals and great reviews. This slide kind of touches on reviews as well. Remember earlier I said the number one reason people choose an artist, according to clients, is photos. Probably a tie or second place is reviews. If you don't have reviews, it's very difficult to get clients. So one of the ways you can get reviews beyond just like 5 stars or 4 stars is to get like a paragraph. I've had people write reviews where they spill their whole life. Those are the ones that people see. And those are the customers that are like, I was on the fence, but then I saw this super great review from this girl who sounded like me, because she was like a busy mom, and you changed her life, and I want to do that too. So one way that you can do that is to ask them how they feel at the beginning of the appointment, and this helps you build trust from the beginning. So you can write this down. One item that you want to start to do right away is say, hey, thank you for coming in. I'm Amber. Nice to meet you. How are you feeling right now? Every artist on our team does this. What are you feeling? Are you excited? Are you nervous? And they always say both. Maybe they'll say like, I'm not excited, I'm just nervous. Most of the time it's both. And when we ask them why, they kind of list off all of their concerns. So right away, I have identified what their objections are so I can answer them. That's important. So building trust will help you during your appointments, but also in the long run. You want to explain the entire process at the beginning of the appointment, which seems like overkill. But I can help you when we're developing a coaching plan on like a script that you can say without making it sound like a script. I have one, and it helps you not get the energy sucked out of you. Explain every step as you go. You're going to allow them to participate in the design and outcome, even if it means making that appointment take forever. It will pay off in the long run when they refer more people to you. And then you're going to set some expectations for the healing process, which is probably, aside from what it's going to look like, the number one concern they have, which is crazy because it's temporary. But if you tell them about it ahead of time, they will be more happy with you. And again, positive experience, more referrals, more clients, and it's going to help you build your business for free, like no money whatsoever. Okay, so I have concluded my training. We're at 42 minutes, so most of you are still here, which is great. So here I'm just kind of listing off for you. If you don't already follow us, Brown v. Ohio is that's us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. We share information that's helpful to you on YouTube, especially like videos. You can expect a lot more of those coming soon. And so I'm going to go ahead and close down our slide presentation, and let's check out the questions. And then let's see where we are. So I'm going to answer questions that are here, and then I'm going to kind of give you, I think, some questions that I had ahead of time. Can you take the training and be certified through the Brout MV course? Sunny, yes. So the training that I'm discussing today, the online manual, it's an e-guide. So you're going to receive an instant download with, like I said, it's like 125 pages of amazing information. So if you are interested in just getting started, it's a great place to start. If you're maybe thinking about taking a class, but you're like, I don't want to drop a couple thousand, I'm not sure yet. It's also great if you're experienced and you are just looking for a little refresh, or maybe to fill in some of the gaps. But the guide itself is not going to certify you. And let's see, online training, like coaching, is not going to certify you. So if you want to actually be certified in training, we provide that, but it is in person. So I can give you more information on that if you just drop a message to me, and I'll send it your way. Oh, I see the rest of your question. And be from another state. Yes, so every state's going to be different. So you're going to want to get with your licensing department or the health department, or shoot me a message and I can look up the laws in your state. But generally speaking, you take our course, and in most states, you're going to start working right away, because I'm going to issue a certification to you once you've completed your training. And yes, looks like Cindy answered your question too. Lots of girls take our classes from other states. Let's see, we have some questions about the course. I'm going to actually get you guys the link. So at the conclusion of our webinar here soon, you'll receive that. You'll get it in your email as well, so you can see all of the options. Because you guys are early adopters and you're here with me right now, going through the first round of release, you guys are all going to get like significant discounts. So that's really, really exciting. Let's see. Becca has wine. I'm going to have wine after this. Let's see. Madeline says almost everyone that she's done has complained about more the sound rather than the pain. Anyone else? Absolutely. I think that's probably like the biggest concern. I even had someone bring earbuds thinking that like that would help the sound, and actually just amplifies things. You actually have to have music playing. So it's funny though, because Madeline knows when you hear that crisp cut, that's a wonderful sound, because that means you're doing it right. So yeah, I think there's nothing you can do about that. I want you to hear that sound. Okay, so Jackie says, we're talking about pricing, $399 or $400, which is better and why? So I think, Jackie, you're probably asking if you were setting a price for your service, does it matter if you're at $399 or $400? In the grand scheme of things, if you are explaining the value and you are positioning yourself in a way that you're asking what their needs are and then explaining how you meet and exceed them with what you provide, the price doesn't matter, I promise. I charge more than other people, but I'm still able to get clients. There are people who charge more than me and they're still able to get clients. And there are people who charge half our price and people would still rather go there. So I think it's about speaking to that particular person and meeting their needs. If you're asking though, like specifically, like, is there a strategy behind doing $399 and not $400? Yes, I think so for sure. Like sometimes we'll do a lash special, like lash extensions, and we'll put it at like kind of an odd number, like maybe $119. We could easily charge $125, but you know, $119 sounds a little bit cheaper. $3.99 also insinuates to the customer, if they're really just kind of looking at it on its face, they're like, oh, I'm getting like, she specially calculated this in some way. It does. If you look at the number in your chat box, it looks like a better deal than 400. So it's $1, and I think it's a strategy worth trying. Let's see. Amber says, do you recommend working somewhere like Mitchell's or Jubilee prior to going off on your own to build a base of clients first? Yes, I think that's a great job. It really depends on your personality. And this is one of the first things that I'm going to talk to you about in your coaching call. Like, who are you? What do you want? What's your personality? What are your goals? You know, a lot of people are like, I want to have 2 locations with multiple artists and I want to train. But when I tell them that I don't hardly sleep and that I miss out on things sometimes because I'm working and building, they're like, I don't really want that. Like, I just want to come to work. The girls that work for me are my employees and they like that, at least right now. I will support them if they want to start their own business. But right now, they like coming to work and having a clientele and not having to worry about marketing and sourcing supplies and stuff like that. So I think if your personality is such that you're not a risk taker, at least not right now, or if your lifestyle is a situation where you're like when I quit my corporate job, my husband had a corporate job, and that certainly helped me in making that decision really fast. So yes, I would recommend working somewhere if you are like, if this is your first time being an entrepreneur. It doesn't hurt, because if you start there and you realize within 2 months, I'm really good at this, I like the business thing, I'm going to start my own, then great, you can do it. So I think it's a great idea, especially because those 2 examples you gave, if you're not around Ohio, Mitchell's and Jubilee are big salon med spas. So they have a huge client base that you could work with, and big marketing tools. So alrighty, Rhonda asked, do we have apprenticeships? At Brown V, we do apprenticeships. Everyone that works as an artist for us started off as an apprentice. So it's an unpaid training program beyond just taking the classroom. Excuse me. So they will come in over the course of months, however long it takes to go through our program. When we have an opening for an apprenticeship, obviously the goal from there is that they work for us. In that case, they do start a job and then we hire them and they're employed with us. However, the whole idea, I noticed how well that worked, and I started asking myself, like, why are the people who work at Brow and V, why do they seem to get going so much faster? Why is it that within 3 months of starting their apprenticeship, they're able to be employed and then replicate work that looks like mine when I've been here longer? And the answer is they've had someone holding their hand the whole time. I am there for them in every way, and I tell them everything. I don't hide anything from them because I want them to be successful. So that's also kind of where the bug for training started, and I did my first class after I hired 2 people, because I realized it's not that it's so hard that you can't do it, it's just that no one will tell you. So you're having to figure it out on your own. It takes longer. And like I said, a lot of people don't get to the end because they quit. So if we have apprenticeships, we will open them up and let you guys know. But if you're interested in that kind of ongoing learning with someone to hold your hand and tell you all the secrets, that would be the coaching program for you. And you can do that from anywhere. Tamisha asked, what are the Ohio requirements? So in Ohio, in most states, not all, but most states, permanent makeup is considered a tattoo. You get a tattoo license. So that sounds crazy to people, but it's true. It's not governed in Ohio by the Cosmetology Board, which makes this a really cool field, because I have no formal cosmetology background whatsoever. I come from a corporate background, and I was still able to jump in and take a class and start a whole entire business that has grown to be this crazy big thing from taking a class. So when you hear artists with more experience knock these couple-day classes, I took a couple-day class and I was able to start a whole business behind it. So anyway, it's a great thing. You do have to take a class. You have to be certified. They have to issue a certification that you took a hands-on class. And then you have to do a couple little things that are quick and easy, like get a first aid certificate. And then the license actually follows the facility where you work. So at Brow and V, if you work inside of Brow and V, every artist that works there is automatically licensed while they're working there. But you can't go somewhere else. You have to get a license everywhere that you work. So hopefully that makes sense. Ask more questions if that didn't answer your question. I have a couple people saying they would like the guide. I'm going to give you the link, and you'll also get the email since you're in here. Madeline wants to give complimentary earbuds. That is super smart, except some people might tell you, I'm just telling you, that it's louder. Let's see. Janine says, do they have manual microblading? No machine. In general, There's a lot of brand names out there, but generally speaking, manual microblading is considered manual. So it's done by hand. Most people use disposable tools. That's what we use, and that's what I teach because it's safer and cleaner in the long run for most people. So no machine, all of the topics that we're talking about right now in the guide pertain to microblading by hand, no machine. So it's a cool thing because it's one less thing for you to purchase. You don't have this big machine that you have to go buy. And it's something that you can get started on withdrawing really, really quickly, as opposed to machine work, which is a little more involved. Amanda, that's good advice. She always has on music, or they use the earbuds with music. I think that sound, Madeline, by the way, I think their real fear, getting back to understanding your clients, it's not just like the sound. They hear trauma and like terrible things and they can't see. Like think about it. They're laying there with their eyes closed. They're super vulnerable because they're laying down. They have no idea what's going on. And it sounds like you're ripping their skin apart. So that's probably a good time to just let them know, hey, real quick, you're not like bleeding everywhere. Everything's fine. It's just kind of a weird sound, but it's fine. It's kind of like the dentist. Like I need them to tell me that they're not like pulling all my teeth out because it sounds like it. Jackie was referring to strategy. Hopefully, Jackie, I did answer the pricing strategy question. Dominique is very confused about the licensing requirements in the Cincinnati area and Hamilton County. Is it easier to seek licensure in Hamilton County versus Cincinnati? So when you seek licensing after your microblading training class and you're ready to get started, you can either work in a facility that's already licensed or get your own for your new facility. I have not experienced that it's significantly easier from county to county. If you don't already know, you do need to go through your county or city, depending on where you are. I can help. If you need help with that, just reach out to me. I can help you find out based on address where you need to go. But you don't get a pick. So as far as like where your location is, you can't pick Hamilton County or Cincinnati. They'll tell you if you're in their jurisdiction or not. But I have found it extremely easy to work with Hamilton County, probably because it's such a large area and they have a lot of tattoo shops. So you probably, and the city of Cincinnati, same thing too. So I don't think you're going to have any issues. Also, all counties and cities follow one state law. Now, they might have different opinions on the details, but they should all be following the same rules. So regardless of where you are, you should always know where you stand because they follow the same things. Let's see. Becca says, do you have any strategies for doing client referrals? Do you give deals? How do you give deals to customers who bring you referrals after they already have their brows done? That is a great question. It's a good idea to have a referral process of some kind. You could do like a stamp card, or you could just do like money referrals or credits. I have found, and haven't tried this yet, so I'll just throw this out there if you guys are interested. I'm a little nervous to try it, but a lot of people are financially motivated because it's nice to get money. And I have not tried this yet, but I think it would be really interesting to see what happens when you tell people you will give them cash for referrals, even if it's a small amount, like $20. I think people are really motivated by that. Right now, what we do is we tell them, we'll give them a $20 credit every time they refer someone to us. If you wanted to be really aggressive with that, you could increase it and just think about what are the odds that they will be referring you more people based on that extra incentive. Again, you can do this you can get the same result by just providing outstanding service, but it's nice to give them that extra boost. So it's unlimited for us, $20. You can refer as many people as you want. For people who are in the industry, stylists and hairstylists, I'm trying to think of other examples, nail techs, makeup artists, they're the best clients. And I have several that get their touch-ups paid for because they just refer me so many people that they don't have to pay for their touch-up anymore, which if you think about it, if $20 adds up to your touch-up, you referred me a lot of business and I have no problem doing your touch-up for free. So yeah, the question I think you have though is like, okay, what's that $20 going to do for me? Because I'm going to be back for a year. It still works. And it's just nice. If nothing else, they are happy and they're happy that you like gave them something for free. So eventually if you start doing other services, like I think this is Becca, you're going to do eyeliner training. You can use that for that purpose. Crystal says, is it possible to open up your own salon suite right after training? Absolutely. Especially if you know you have the tools and you kind of know everything to set yourself up very, very quickly, which I can help you with. So there's information in the guide about licensing and considering if you should rent a suite or buy a space or work in a doctor's office. So that's all stuff that you can get in the guide. And then if you want some additional details, I can go over it with you pertaining to you specifically. But yes, when I took my first class, The first place that I worked was Salons by JC in Norwood, down in Cincinnati, Ohio. And I just had like a little room. There's actually a picture of it in the guide. And, it was just, my clients will tell you that have been with me since the beginning, they like that space. And I think this is interesting because a lot of artists think they need to open with this big, beautiful space. Or they'll come to Brown V and they're like, I need this. Not at all. Like, you can start in the smallest of spaces. You can still provide value to a customer. And I had plenty of customers in that tiny little room. So yes, you can do your salon suite. You'll get it licensed the same way you would if you had a big space. So do it. You can totally do it. Let's see. Where is a good place to buy supplies? I have that in the guide. So there's actually a full list of what I like. I think that it's important to spend money where it's going to make you money. I don't think it's a good idea to just spend money willy-nilly on everything because you're going to charge a lot for a service. You should still try to be cost effective. So if you do the things that I mentioned in the guide or in our classes, you should be spending like $20-ish, $30 a person if they come to you 2 times. And that's like max. And the majority of that is if you use the tools that I tell you to use in the book, because they're really, really nice, but they're on the higher end. But even then, that's a low cost compared to what you charge. So I like Girls Inc. for numbing, girlsinc with a Z.com. They're in Vegas. You can buy pretty much everything you need there. They sell the ink that we use. They sell our blades. I have a video on YouTube about numbing. If you're curious about how our numbing works, you can watch that whenever you want. But I like Girls Inc. I like, it's a weird name. I can message this to you. In fact, I might type it. It's Boca Tattoo, BOCATA, the number 2.com. And they have a lot of supplies too. Let's see. How long did it take you to get a steady clientele? And how much did you pay for your first location outside of the home? So if you're just joining us, I just want to be clear, it is technically not allowed to work in your home, but I did do my friends, like my husband. I did my husband's eyebrows. I should tell you guys that story, but it's for another day. I did those at home because, they were my family. But I was still careful about exposure and stuff like that. But right away, I took my first paying client in a salon suite. And I developed a steady clientele really, really fast. So I started, I want to say it was in June. And then I gave notice at my corporate job in August, and I gave them about 4 weeks. So I worked there until September. So within a couple months, I quit my job. And just to be clear, I'm explaining this because I think it's relevant. I quit a job that was a really good job. Like, I had worked there for a long time, and I was making a good salary. So, and it was cushy. Like, I worked from home 3 days a week. It was great. I didn't like it, but it was a good job. And that's important because I was still able to quit a job that was good, not just kind of like a job that I could get anywhere. And I trusted it because of the clientele. But I think I was about 6 months booked out within the first 6 months. So that's after I went full time. So a lot of the things, the tips and tricks that we talked about, we touched on earlier in the training class. Those are the things that I used to get extremely booked out, and it never went down. It's stayed that way ever since, even as more competitors have popped up and even as we've hired more people. How much did you pay for your first location? Salons by JC was pretty expensive at that point. It was $240 a week, I want to say. It was like a booth rental place, so you paid by the week. I think I moved somewhere temporarily while we were renovating the first storefront, and I paid $175 a week for that suite. And it had everything you needed. It came with a sink already in there. I didn't have to pay any utilities. The lights were always on. It was 24 hours. I could come and go as I pleased. I had privacy because I could just shut the door in both places. Again, so a lot of my customers love those places. So you can easily start out there. Do you use a massage bed or a chair? We use beds. There's links to those in the guide, but you can also go to our Instagram and see pictures of them, or on our website. But the company, if you want to write this down, it's LCL Beauty. That's where we get ours from. I don't think I could do it in a chair. I need them to be really flat. Rosemary asks, hey, how do you keep track of the referrals? I'm going to be honest. This is an area that I don't have a cool answer. We just put them in their notes in our booking system. So every time I put the $20 for X person, whatever her name is, and then I mark it off as I use it. So that is not a super scientific way to do it, but you could do like punch cards or something like that, or maybe write it down, but that's what works for us. Jackie says the first few clients she did for free, they were stylists, nurses, servers, and restaurants, and they have referred so many clients. And Jackie got off to a huge start, and that's right. Nurses are huge. If I had to pick an industry where most of my clients come from, it is nurses, which is funny to me. But they work all the time, and they want their eyebrows to look nice. I found 2 applications for tattoo license in Ohio. One is $175, one is $350. Do you have to do a specific application? Yes. So Cincinnati is pretty expensive. It's $300, or I'm sorry, Hamilton County. Franklin County is $175. So it just varies. $300 is the most expensive I've ever seen. So if you've seen $350, that's the most expensive. That's a lot. And it's once a year, and it covers the whole year. And yes, there is a specific application. I go into that in the guide, but you can go on, Hamilton County has a great one. That's a template. So Hamilton County, Google Hamilton County Health Department, and you'll find it. Do you have a video for mapping? We're almost through the questions, guys. Do you have a video for mapping? I would love a refresher on the string method. I don't, but I'm going to work on one. There is information in the guide, but I think it would be really helpful for you guys to see a quick up close video. So outside of it just being explained in words. So that is something that is coming soon. And it's also something I can sort of kind of touch on when we do coaching. I can't obviously teach you over the phone, although we can do video calls like this, and that might be helpful to you. Dominique mentions how Cincinnati is so vague. You're right. Hamilton County is the most thorough health department that you're going to find. So you touch on something important, Dominique. You don't know where you're going to work yet, so you really can't do anything until you have a space. So at that point, then you can kind of figure out where to go, and I can help you with that. Teresa says, I'm a tattoo artist in a licensed shop. I can perform this procedure immediately after being certified. And does documentation of licensing need to be provided to anyone before the first procedure? So a couple questions. She's already a licensed tattoo artist, which is super cool. You can perform it immediately after being certified if you're going to work in a shop that's already licensed. There's no need to go get another one. They'll tell you what they need from you. So if they typically should ask you for a first aid certificate, which is something you do online. Oh, you're already a tattoo artist, so you should have everything. So literally you can just show up tomorrow after your class, and your tattoo shop will want to keep your certificate on file. But yeah, nothing else needs to be done. You can just go. What was my starting price, Shawnette? That's a great question. Okay, so I was one of the only people doing it when I first started, at least in Cincinnati. And the girl in the space that I worked was doing it for $750. And again, this is super important. She didn't care what I charged. She did her own thing, which is a great example. But I charged $450. So here's a strategy. I can help you with more specific details if I know more about your business, and it matters. The details matter, but I'll just tell you about me. I offered the price at $450, and then I offered 20% off as a special. And so I think that made it $360. And I'm amazed that I remember this. But I did that for 2 months. But I did 2 things, and you need to do this. So write this down. You want to tell them the real price so that they don't think that you're raising it later. It's important that they know the real price is X. I'm just giving this discount. And I would position it it's a grand opening thing, or a rebranding if you're already an existing business. But I wouldn't say it's a sale. I don't believe you should do sales on microblading. But anyway, and then I also told them the second thing I want you to write down is I told them that it expired on a certain day. You need to set an end date. So that creates that creates a need to book quickly. What's the word for that? Urgency. It creates urgency. So they're like, holy crap, I can get this deal and I know it's ending, so I better book soon. And I think I did it for 30 days and then I had so much demand truly that I expanded it another month. And then that was it. And I don't think I've ever done another sale since. Even now, we will only just offer maybe free additions, free shading. We don't do any sales beyond that. So hopefully that was helpful to you on the starting price. One thing I do want to add to that real quick, and we're going to wrap because I know we're at an hour and you guys probably want to close. I'll stay as long as you want, but I want to make sure I get through the end of everything for everyone. Let's see, starting price, you should not necessarily charge less because you're new. Your price should reflect your value and what it's worth to you. Is it worth working for X? Yeah, if so, charge it. But your price should not necessarily be cheaper just because you're new. That's a myth. Again, remember, clients don't know the difference between outstanding and average work. What was the first suite location? It was Salons by JC in Rookwood, Isha. So I don't know if it's Isha or Aisha, I'm sorry. But that's near Rookwood Commons. And then Lauren asked, do you have any advice on health inspections? Don't be nervous. It's going to be totally fine. It's not as serious as you think. Sadly, but like fortunately for you, they're not that picky. I think it's funny because like when I got my license, the tattoo, the health department guy was like, oh wow, like this looks nice. It smells good in here. We usually are looking for like holes in the wall and rodents. And I was like, okay. So he was really easy on me. I have only had one, and it's the lady in our Columbus salon who wanted to make us demonstrate our ability. So that was weird. But what's funny is she went to one of my students' locations first in Columbus, and my student did such a good job demonstrating that she knew how to do stuff that she let me out of it. But otherwise, I have never had them ask me to do anything. They just want to make sure that you're clean and that you know what you're doing, and I taught you exactly what to do. So let's see. Jackie went through Warren County. Warren County is tricky. They don't have a lot of tattoo shops. So if anyone needs help, Jackie's listed her email, which is such a great example of how all of my students know to like operate. Like I think all of us are like freely sharing. So if you need help in Warren County, she's nicely put her email there. When we have a forum, you guys will be able to do that all the time. Christina got a salon suite in Mason. Congrats, girl. Lori's health inspector in Michigan is super helpful. I would agree with that. Most of them just want to help you and be nice to them because you want them to be nice to you. Ayana asked, do we do lashes as well? I don't personally do lashes, but we do have an artist that does lashes, and that brings up an interesting point. You, depending on your license, some cosmetology boards get interested in what you're doing with your permanent makeup. You just have to remember and remind them that it's totally separate. It's governed by the health department. So if you're in a salon and you have a salon license, you still need a tattoo license. Let's see. Haley, you were just at Salons by JC in Rookwood to get your hair done, and that's where you first did my brows. That is so true. The other day I was there for something else and I walked by and got all like reminiscent, and it's a super cute place if you need somewhere in Cincinnati. What about the upcoming training dates? Sunny asks. She's emailed but hasn't gotten anything yet. As far as in-person training, you will get an email within 1 business day. We're pretty quick about that. So if you haven't gotten it yet, you will. I think December is full. I know December is full, but January, February, and March have openings if you're looking for in-person training. I'm assuming that's what you meant, but if you were looking for the coaching training, the 4-week and the 8-week program, they can start at any point and as soon as tomorrow if you want to sign up, and I can start helping you. Let's see. Rachel asked about a salon suite in Mason. At the Phoenix, that's a super cute place. Another salon loft. It's a new kind of franchise, which is really cute. Okay, so looking at the time, we did pretty good. I'm a talker, so sometimes I go over, but we're at about 1 hour and 10 minutes. And the super cool thing is that you guys are all still here. So thank you so much for coming and like listening and participating. I honestly, you guys asked a lot of questions. I didn't have a lot to cover that you didn't really ask. Do you have a set date for shading class in February yet? I don't, but I promise I will do one. So if you are a microblading artist and you need, you want to take an advanced shading course, we did one in October, and I will do it in February after the holidays. So stay tuned on that. So just some reminders on what's going to happen from here. Hopefully we'll do lots of these. And if you guys liked it, I'd love to hear your feedback. I would like to hear more and like get what would you like to talk about? Like what topics would you like to hear more of? What do you feel like you could use and benefit from in our coaching program? I would love to hear more. If you just want to know more about it, you're going to get all of the details. So you'll get an email. It's going to have all 3 options, which is going to be your online guide, the 4-week coaching program, and the 8-week one. Obviously the 4-week and the 8-week coaching are us talking and having a relationship and me just kind of like holding your hand through the process and then customizing a plan to help you get more clients and grow and get better in a way for you. So there's 4 and 8 weeks. So you're going to get all of that. You'll actually be able to sign up at a discount if you do so, if you would like to, because you guys are here. And then if you have questions after the fact, just reach out. I would be super happy to. I'm excited. I'm just really excited that so many people are interested in learning more about microblading. And I just want to help as many of you as I can. So we're going to go ahead and wrap now. You will get the link. You'll get the email. You'll get all the information. If you don't get it or you got questions, just reach out to me. So it was super nice chatting with you guys. I'm going to go have the glass of wine that I haven't had yet. And I look forward to talking to you guys and hopefully getting started working with you soon. Bye.